Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Just Another Talk. The negotiations with Iran didn't go as planned. Let's let JD Vance tell us how they went.
Well, good morning, everybody. And
Good morning,
let me
B.
say a couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement. And I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our...
I thought he was going to say we go back to bombing them. That'd be crazy. I don't think JD wants us fighting Iran. I haven't heard him say much about it. But apparently the deal didn't go through. Let's see what else he has to say.
Deadlines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms.
So because of that, Trump has issued a blockade of Iran. So let's go ahead and watch this video real quick.
Seizure by U.S. forces. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps reacting, quote, contrary to the false claims of certain enemy officials, the Strait of Hormuz is open for the passage of non-military vessels under smart control and management in accordance with specific regulations. Now, over the weekend, Vice President JD Vance arrived here in Islamabad for the talks brokered by Pakistan to negotiate with an Iranian delegation. Vance spent more than 21 hours doing it, Bill. U.S. officials say included in the final offer taken back to Tehran are 6 red lines, including opening the Strait of Hormuz without collecting tolls, ending all uranium enrichment, and dismantling Iran's enrichment facilities, something the vice president emphasized with reporters here in Islamabad after the talks.
The simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon.
Well, I guess Jang was right. Professor Jang said it. Iran is not about to stop, so I guess we're going back to war. I was wrong, guys. I was wrong. I thought the ceasefire was going to last a lot longer.
It's not clear when talks between the U.S. and Iran will resume. Pakistan is hosted to host a next round of talks as we await that deadline for the president to order that blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is set to begin in less than an hour, Bill.
Lucas, it's actually Dana now, but Bill is with me. What are you hearing about the biggest challenges in even enforcing this blockade?
Well, Dana, the biggest challenge is the U.S. Navy is not the same size it was during the 80s when there were guided missile frigates that could do this kind of work. There are about 14 guided missile destroyers. We saw 2 of them transit the strait over the weekend. But these are multi-billion-dollar warships that are needed for protecting the aircraft carrier strike groups, launching Tomahawks, firing SM-3 interceptor missiles. So it's not clear if the U.S. Navy has the capacity to do this. Remember, there's over 300 tankers stuck in the Persian Gulf right now trying to get out. And there's no other way out of the Persian Gulf than through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategic waterways. Even the Strait of Gibraltar, other waterways, you can sail around. There's workarounds. You have to go far, no question. It'd be long, timely, very expensive. But the Strait of Hormuz, much like the Danish and Turkish straits, there is no workaround. And Iran knows this, of course. That's why they have closed the strait.
Lucas Tomlinson, thank you.
Thank you.
Seizure by...
All right. Well.
Persian Gulf, also known as the Arabian Gulf, which is what the president referred to it in that Truth Social posting that was just recently made. This is what happened on Saturday. This is very important to understand, all right? While the peace talks are underway, the United States Navy sends 2 destroyers through the Strait of Hormuz. They can look for mines, they can test for mines, they can search for mines, and they can prove to international carriers that it might be a safe passage, no matter what the Iranians are claiming to say. So this is what Iran wants to happen, all right? They want the shipping to move further to the east. There's an island over here called Larak Island, L-A-R-A-K, and that's where they want to collect the tolls. That's where they want the shipping to do. But here's what the U.S. Navy did on Saturday. The USS Peterson coming through and the U.S. Murphy coming through this area where the Iranians had said this is a hazardous area. Both of them went through, and now we wait to see what Iran does next. Lieutenant.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a better way to handle this whole situation. This is crazy. So apparently this is the traffic. That's what it looks like. Not very many boats are crossing over. What is this? It says several vessels have transited the Strait of Hormuz over the last 36 hours, though levels are less than 15% of normal inbound and outbound. The vast majority of them are using the Iranian traffic separation scheme, transiting near Larak Island. Yeah, like the guy said, like the guy on Fox News said. All right, let's see what else we got going on about this. The UK Prime Minister Starmer speaks on economic impact of Hormuz. Moments ago, United Kingdom Prime Minister Starmer unleashes against Iran for causing untold economic damage in the Strait of Hormuz as the United States begins the naval blockade on Iranian ports in the waterway. Let's see if he says anything interesting.
All of the leaders that I met were crystal clear that freedom of navigation is vital and must be restored. No conditions, no tolls, and no tolerance of Iran holding the world's economy to ransom. Because, Mr. Speaker, the impact of Iran's behaviour in the Strait is causing untold economic damage. All of the leaders that I met.
Yeah, but the question is, are they going to listen? Are they willing to listen? I doubt it. U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. Navy will begin the process of blockading any and all ships entering or leaving the Strait of Hormuz after failed nuclear talks with Iran. Is this a real video or is this AI? It looks pretty real. Oh, don't dare to touch the Strait of Hormuz, Vladimir Putin. Putin has finally entered and openly taken Iran's side. See more. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. It would be front page news if he said that.
You know, we're watching that U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz in effect for nearly 2 hours now. A ship tracking firm reports 121 empty oil tankers are making their way to the United States of America. 68 of those 121 vessels are very large crude carriers capable of carrying 2 million barrels apiece. President Trump has urged countries squeezed by Iran's disruption of the Strait of Hormuz to turn to American energy supplies instead. Well, it would appear perhaps they are obliging him. They are listening to Trump. The president told Fox, quote, China can send their ships to the U.S., China can send their ships to Venezuela, while also saying that empty oil-carrying ships from many nations are all headed to the U.S. to load up. That from the President of the United States. A lot to follow today. Put that.
Damn. So does that mean that our gas prices are going to go down? We about to make some money off of this? What are national average gas prices in the U.S.? Wait, so yeah, it's been going up. 2 years ago, it was 52 cents higher. Holy shit. Am I reading that right? Or, yeah, my reading is, holy shit. 381, so I guess from April 6th, which was what, 6 days ago? So $4 on the East Coast. New England is $3.94. Center Atlantic is $4.08. Lower Atlantic is $3.96. Midwest is $3.77. Gulf Coast is $3.78. So it's holding fairly low. West Coast less California is $4.95. That's kind of high. I know California gas prices is crazy. So, I mean, they're still high. I wonder if those 121 tankers that are headed this way are going to lower gas prices. Trump blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Oh my God. Okay, Peter.
Oh, all it does is shoot you. Oh! Ah! Ow! Oh! What was the point of all that?
Oh my God.
All it does is shoot you. It doesn't make breakfast.
Oh my God, that's impressively stupid. Impressively stupid. Where was it? What's this? Breaking after failed U.S.-Iran talks, a tense standoff unfolds in the Strait of Hormuz. IRGC fast attack boats confront U.S. Navy warships in a high-risk game of chicken, pushing the region closer to the edge of escalation. Yeah, just one little missile, one little Tomahawk missile, that thing would be blown into pieces. Literally pieces. JP Morgan publishes countdown to when each continent run out of fuel amid a Strait of Hormuz blockade. Europe, April 10th. North America, April 15th. Australia, April 20th. Is this even real? Is this even real? Who knows? Oh, there we go. The JP Morgan map shows dates when last Gulf oil deliveries are expected to arrive amid the Hormuz blockade, not when continents run out of fuel. Yeah, I was gonna say, come on, bro. See, this is why I like community notes. It's always good to investigate versus just assume. It's over. The U.S. Navy is moving to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has threatened to respond by talking to Bab al-Mandeb. C-17s are flooding U.S. bases in the region right now. The next move changes everything. We're going to war, guys. Going back to war. Me and the Strait of Hormuz fighting on China's side because I accepted Timu's terms and conditions without reading them. Next, blocking the blocking of the blockade. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Blockade on Iranian ports around the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump overnight on Truth Social said, quote, the United States to blockade ships entering or exiting Iranian ports on April 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yes,
now, the
past 10
Iranian
a.m.
military
now.
is warning that no Gulf ports will be safe if their own ports are threatened. We understand there are a variety of contingencies in place, and U.S. Central Command says that humanitarian vessels and regular commercial ships not coming from Iran will be allowed to use the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM releasing a statement of their own this weekend saying the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM forces will not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. President Trump this weekend speaking about the situation, saying this.
Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil, and that will be very effective. But what we want to do is we want to, and again, we don't need it. What we notice and what we see and what I think is maybe my idea, maybe not, I don't know. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait. And ultimately that'll be corrected.
With a focus on Iran, there's also a focus on Lebanon, where...
Oh boy. Listen, I heard Professor Jang say there are no rules in war, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing because this is not exactly what he said, but the point was that the people who usually win at war aren't the folks who have this moral compass and they won't attack this or they won't attack that, or they'll keep things within a specific spectrum of what they're willing to attack and what they're willing to do, right? He said the people that win war are the ones who are willing to do whatever is necessary to win the war. Sometimes that might mean starving a population, attacking citizens, or attacking infrastructure, or just creating fear. Now, I'm not saying that that's what I think America should do or the United States should do, but I'm just pointing out the fact that I think the only way to truly end this is for all out, balls to the wall. I'm not saying kill civilians, because it's not what I'm aiming for. But you gotta make them cry uncle. Or else this is gonna be just like Afghanistan, just like Iraq. We're gonna be there forever. Shit's never gonna end. And so it's a tricky situation, but I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments what you think of the blockade. Do you think it's gonna work? Do you think this ceasefire is even gonna last 2 weeks? Do you think something's going to happen to one of these ships that are traveling through the Strait of Hormuz? If you liked the episode, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and until next time.